see how we do here now. Okay. Let me know if you guys are back and if you can hear me. Okay, wait, I gotta type something here. I'm back. Steeking this sweater. Okay, Shirley can see me. Go live. All right, so I should be going live on Facebook now too. So thanks for bearing with me, everyone. All right, so let's talk about this again. You know what? I was cleaning in here and I pulled out the cord, and then I didn't realize that. So, all right, we are restarted. We are here, and it looks like everything's okay. So, if anyone's back on Facebook, let me know if they can hear me. But it seems like YouTube is good, and we are still here on TikTok. It's me. I will definitely get into what steeking is in a sec here. I just learned that word a couple days ago. So, all right, everyone is back here. So tonight we are continuing to steek this little feller. This is that sweater that I thought my mom knit, but she texted me last night during our live, and apparently it was actually knit by an high school ex-boyfriend's mom, and who gave it to my mom in high school for Christmas. So it's a whole different story than I thought. Here's the kind of backstory is I want to, it doesn't fit well. It's actually tight. I took a video of it today, so if any of you saw the video, I posted it on TikTok today, but if anyone saw the video, I had me wearing it, and it actually looks kind of big. It's actually quite tight. I had a sweater on underneath in that picture, and it's so fat. Like, this is the fattest, like, wool yarn. It is just chunky. Actually, I think it's kind of thick because of all the cables. So I want to turn it into a cardigan. And a few of you talked about this process called steeking. So I looked it up a little bit, and I just kind of started yesterday, and we have some issues with that because of how this was made, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But I am not quite positive it is actually steeking. It sort of is, but we don't have a steek per se. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to flip around, and we'll get going here. All right, so here's the sweater. I'm going to zoom you guys in. So first of all, what is steeking? Steeking is basically, in the shortest form of saying it, it is sewing something in a tube, like a sweater. This is like circular in a tube, and then you cut into it in some way, right? So you're cutting a piece of knitting. That is what steeking is. But a steek, correct me if I'm wrong, I did a little research today, but a steek is a place that you on purpose got ready in your knitting for the purpose of cutting it up. So theoretically, this would be a steek, an area that I've prepped for a steek. However, I did not actually do that. A real prep for a steek to like cut it in cut up a row would have been and you know what, you guys, I'm going to get stitching, and you can start yelling at me because I'm going to be stitching in a spot that we did not discuss yesterday. I'm going to be stitching right here. Anyhow, I will get to why I'm doing this. I think I have a real plan here. So I'm going to tell you what a real steek should be. So a reason to make a steek is because you're doing some Fair Isle knitting. This is where it's commonly done. So Fair Isle knitting, let's say you're knitting something for like a little kid's sweater. Fair Isle knitting is when it has like a decorative pattern, you're switching colors quite a bit. That's super annoying if you have to go back and forth and do that. Your tension is really important when you're doing Fair Isle knitting, and going back and forth, you got to switch between knitting and purling, and your tension may be different for both of those. So a little get around is to not go back and forth if you're making a cardigan. It's just to go around and around, making a tube like this is, and make like a full sweater, and then later go back, cut it, and turn it into a cardigan, right? So that is basically steeking, and that's like the common reason why you'd want to do it, because it's easier to knit the tube, and then you can just cut it and finish it off. So when you're doing that, usually you're doing that with a plan. Like, you know beforehand that you are making this into a cardigan, or another example is like you're putting pockets in that spot. You could steek pockets, like you could just cut into your knitting for pockets, but you typically do that with a plan, and that plan is making an area that you're going to steek, and that area is usually normal, simple stockinette stitch. Which is just like, I don't even have a good example of it on this sweater, because it's all cable work, but it's just like a whole pile of just nice little knit V's in a row. So when you see all these little pretty V's together, that's the stockinette stitch. So anyway, to make a nice steek where you cut, you want all those nice stitches together. Sometimes you even want to checkerboard the colors while you do it, because that even makes it stronger, apparently. I don't know. So that's the deal. So the problem... Okay, so let me just finish the process. So you make that area, that steek area, and then you knit your whole thing, and you're knitting that area. You're knitting that column of stitches that are just clean and perfect, because you know that's where you're going to cut. So then you finish your sweater, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to cut that open and turn it into a cardigan. So before you do that, you have to prep the two edges on either side of the cut. And that's sort of what we're doing now, even though we're kind of going to be veering from that in a sec here, and I'll get to that. So to prep both sides, you need to like sew the stitches so they don't come apart. So there's a few ways to do that. One is what I'm doing here, which is hand stitching it with a back stitch. Another way to do it is machine stitch it. And a third way to do it is with crochet. So Capella Creating is asking, I thought you had to crochet to steek. So another way of doing it is crocheting. So I would actually pick up stitches. I would pick up a stitch, meaning I would like stick my crochet needle or hook into like one of these stitches, and I would crochet a little chain stitch or single crochet going all the way up. So I would have crocheted two little lines that I would cut in the middle of. So that's another way to like that, and I think that's called the steek. Like the actual stitching, like what we're doing is the steek of it all. Yes, so steeking is the actual like locking down of the stitch. So this would be the steek. This would be the prepped area for the steek, and like the act of cutting it, this whole process I would call like steeking. Okay, so that's how I am currently understanding it. So here are the problems in our current state of the state. We have not prepped a pretty nice area for steeking. Right in the middle of this sweater, that's where I want to cut it, right? Like I want, this is a cardigan, I want it cut in the middle. I don't really want it offset. We were talking about offsetting it last night and stuff because of those nice stitches over here, it'd be easier to offset it. But some people brought up some things when I posted it in my TikTok, and one of the things that it's just gonna lay funny if I offset cut it, and I don't know, I just don't think I'm going to like it as much, and that means I'm not going to wear it as much, and I don't want to do that. I want to wear it. Oh, one last thing. So with the process of steeking, so I've now cut it, let's just say. So I have an open sweater now. I have a cardigan. One thing that's very common to do, especially if you're stitching, if you're making like, a cute little Fair Isle cardigan or whatever, the next step, and you can do this even before you cut, you pick up a bunch of stitches on each side, and then you knit a whole extra ribbing. So like, if you think of a cardigan, like where you have the buttonholes and all that, that's sometimes a whole extra piece. So theoretically, if I was doing this in the most like normal way, I would pick up some of these stitches, and then I would stitch a whole extra panel for buttons. So I'd stitch that on either side, and I'd have 2 little strips on both sides just, for buttons or whatever, right? So the whole idea is you make your sweater, you cut down the middle, you add that extra knit area for buttons, and you got yourself a cardigan. So you've turned a sweater which is easier to knit, into a cardigan by steeking it. So let me know if all that makes sense. That is the normal steeking process and why you would do it from my 1 hour of Google education today. So we have a few problems with this. First of all, I do want this to be a cardigan, not a sweater, and I do want the slit or the opening of the cardigan to be in the center. So now in the center of this particular piece, we have an issue. Normally, if I was really steeking this, I would have just like very normal, easy stitches here that I could easily cut, but we don't have that here. I'm trying to steek something that already exists. What we do have is a very intricate cable knit area, which poses some problems. Noeline's saying sacrifice the center cable, and that is exactly what I'm doing. So this cable poses some problems. First of all, it's very pretty, and I know who the someone is my mom's ex-boyfriend from high school's mom. She spent a lot of time doing this cable. So it's a bummer to basically be cutting it up. So that's problem number 1. Secondly, it is a cable, which means that there's yarn, a lot of extra yarn compared to a normal knit line, and it's going every which way. It's kind of crossing, it's angled, so the yarn is just going to act crazy when we cut it because it's a cable. So that poses extra problems. But someone had a brilliant idea on TikTok, and that's what made me decide to go back to this route of stitching it in the middle. So just to kind of reiterate what I'm doing here is I stitched 2. Here's the center. This is the cable right here, and obviously the center of the cable is there. So I'm stitching 2 lines on this side just to have it be extra secure, and then I'm stitching 2 lines on this side, so this side's extra secure, and I'll have like a little gap in the middle where I'll actually cut. And I think this red is just really pretty. So anyway, so that's my plan is to stitch 2 lines, and I'm hoping to get both of those lines done tonight, although I don't know. We might not have time tonight anymore. So I won't actually be cutting it today, but we're just doing our prep work of this steek. And I think I'm getting a little off my cable here. So someone had a really good idea of how to deal with the cables. First of all, I decided to go back to doing it in the center. Last night we had thought, maybe we can offset it so I could do the 2 lines here and this could be our cut. But then I'd have like this whole like offset opening in the sweater, and I don't know, I was just a little unsure about that. But after some people were saying, a lot of people responded to my TikTok video with with comments and what I should do, because I was worried, like, should I even be doing this to this sweater, because, you know, it has like a history and a story that we discovered last night, and someone put a ton of work into it that I'm just going to be cutting up right now. So a lot of people responded that, you know, it's okay to just cut it, and you know, if I'm going to wear it, you know, I'm honoring it by wearing it versus it just sitting somewhere. And I agree, so I'm going with that. Too fast, I want to see you cut tonight. I will definitely not be cutting tonight, and I'm getting to that. And I just won't have enough time because both of these rows of stitches are going to take a while. So we'll come back to this on Monday again. But someone had a great idea over on TikTok on dealing with these cables. And it's a way that I might not even have to cover up these stitches. So theoretically, I was like, oh, I might have to cover this up because I don't want this to all unravel. So we got a few good things going for us. Well, one good thing is that this is actual, like, old school wool yarn. This is not like superwash yarn. This is not anything. This is just like mega nice, 100% like wool yarn. So what that means is that it felts amazingly. So, and that means that the fibers kind of stick together and even become like a hard fabric of its own, like kind of just stays together like a felt, like my felt pressing mat. It'll just like kind of hold together. So that's a benefit to us. It's not going to just, like all these stitches, when I cut them, I don't think they're just going to all slide apart. They're going to kind of stay. But here's the idea that someone had. To make them even stay more, I could needle felt. So, which I do have tools for needle felting. And I'll tell you what that is in a sec if you haven't heard of needle felting. But I can needle felt down this center before I cut it. And then it'll be like pre-felted, that center area, and it shouldn't come apart at all. All of those fibers will just be stuck together. So I'm like, that's brilliant, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I may actually still machine sew it just to make sure, and I still do like the idea of putting gross grain ribbon on the inside of this just to protect it, to make the seam sturdier and less like super stretchy. So I think I am going to still sew in gross grain ribbon to the inside. And I think I'm going to get bright red. If they have it, I'm going to try and match this red. I'm going to go to Joann's tomorrow. So I'm going to sew gross grain ribbon on the back and needle felt this whole center area, and then we will cut. So I think I'll sew in those. I don't know if I'm going to sew in the gross grain ribbon first before or after cutting, but I will needle felt it before cutting. So anyway, to recap, what I'm doing here is like the process here. I'm going to stitch 2 lines right now, so I'll have 4 lines total, and eventually I will cut right in the middle of the sets of 2 lines. So I'll cut like right here. But to hold the cables, this cable knitting in place so it doesn't, go all over, I'm going to needle felt it in place first. Then I will cut down the center. That's the scary part. And then I think I will, and I might sew with the machine first, gross grain ribbon to the inside, which you see on coats and jackets and other things a lot. It's just a way to make that area sturdier, the inside of the seam. Hoo-wee, man. So that's my new plan. So clearly this turned into a bigger project, so I think I might actually just leave it like that. Like I might not even finish the raw edge. Like if it's needle felted, I might just leave it needle felted. So let me back up to what is needle felting. Needle felting is a process where you actually have like these needles that have barbs on the end. So tiny, tiny little barbs. And those barbs, when you poke it into specifically wool, it agitates the wool, And then all the wool is kind of made up of like little barbs on each of, like if you microscopically look at this wool, it's going to have like lots of little barbs on it. And when you agitate those barbs, like for example, if you put it in the washing machine, all those barbs start to lock and hook into each other and makes it like actually smaller and smaller and tighter and tighter. That's why it kind of shrinks in the machine. So we can manually do that with a needle felting tool. And that's the needles with the barbs on it, which I happen to have here because I have everything crafty here. I just have to find it. It's in the midst of my crafts somewhere. So I'll find my needle felting tool, and all we got to do is stab that needle all the way up that column here. And this column is actually going to be pretty skinny, so I'm actually not going to have to do it too much. So what that'll make is just like a fabric, just that's all locked together. It won't even physically be able to pull itself apart because it's going to be too tightly interlocked. And this particular yarn, it doesn't work with all yarn, but this yarn is going to make it perfect to do that. Yeah, Nolene says the tape. So the gross grain ribbon, so like the tape is another way of saying that. We will sew that to the inside, so that will actually cover this up. So it'll be like a nice sturdy ribbon that will cover this up. That's going to add some structure and sturdiness to the two edges when I cut them apart. So that's going to be really nice, and I love the idea of it being red. I don't know if Joann's will have that, but I'm going to go check tomorrow. I got a whole agenda at Joann's. I got like 4 different things that I want to do there. So that'll be fun. I'll film some of that. But anyway, gross grain ribbon is one. And when someone mentioned that needle felting down the middle, I'm like, that's it. That is the key of what's going to be keeping this all together. So I'm really happy about that. So technically what I'm doing now is going to sort of end up just being decorative. I mean, this is actually holding it together, but the needle felting will really kind of do the job. Yep, I'll definitely wear a mask. I think we're under a mask mandate again here. I like that it is all show instead of sewing in the binding. So yes, if I really wanted to turn this into a bigger project, I could, and I might still do this. We'll just see. I really kind of like these stripes, but I could. Let's just leave it open yet. I could actually pick up these stitches all along the edge here. I have like these perfect little ditches here of perfect little stitches I could pick up with my knitting needles, and I could actually knit a real rib onto here. So like how it's traditionally done, I could actually pick these up and do a rib, which would be so pretty in this red as well, like just picking up a really huge picking up the stitches and making like a nice big chunky red like little button column. I forget what that's called. Anywho, that would be another option, but theoretically I could do that at any time. I personally think that needle felting alone will hold this thing together, honestly. This is just the right yarn for that needle felting. I think we're probably going to have to hardly do it at all. And this is old. So this is 50 years old. It's probably felted enough as is. I could probably cut this now without doing anything and it would stay together. But that's too scary, so I'm not doing that. So I could go all the way and make that extra button ribbing thing on here. But I think what will probably end up happening is I'm going to just make 2 little sweet lines here. Well, ultimately 4 little sweet lines of stitches. And that's going to be a little decorative edge. I'm going to line the back with that gross grain ribbon, the backs of this. And you know what? Maybe I'll even add like a little heart on the side or something and call it a day. I don't think it's going to fall apart. I'm feeling more comfortable with this for sure. Ellen just had like a pile of crazy letters and numbers come off in her comments, and then she wrote, sorry, my cat was walking over the keyboard. I was wondering about that. Oh man. Okay, so I'm feeling way more confident in this today than yesterday. I think it's that needle felting that's doing it. So I'm very excited for this project. This just was a thing that came up. I've had this on my pile, this sweater on my pile forever. That didn't really fit really well. I thought my mom had made it. She had made a different sweater similar to this that I actually already use as a house coat, like a house sweater, just to throw on when it's super duper cold. And I thought this was another one of hers, and I was just going to do the same thing with it. And then last night we found out that it was actually her ex-boyfriend's mom from high school made it. And Mom also went over to say that it has like a boat neck on it, or like a slight boat neck. It's a fisherman's style sweater that with all this cabling and everything. And it's wool, so it can get wet and keep you dry and all that sort of stuff, and keep you warm and keep you cool. It's like all that magic wool shenanigans. But she said that she used to go ice skating with it, and it was like the best for ice skating. And it has the boat neck that's a little bit bigger because it was meant to wear like a black turtleneck underneath it, and it was meant for like a high schooler size-wise. Oh, Paula says the button thingy is called a placket. Oh, okay, so you can knit like 2 plackets on the sides. And I'm theoretically opting out of that unless I get real excited about doing that, or if this just doesn't feel like it's going to hold together, which I think it'll be fine. But if this doesn't feel like it's going to hold together after I cut it, then I might actually still cover it up with that button placket knit shenanigans. All right, so that's the story. So this weekend I'm gonna, like I said, run to Joann's and get that gross grain ribbon, and then Monday we should be at the stage that we can sew that ribbon on, like if I do that before cutting. But I kind of just want to cut. So Monday we could do the needle. I just wanted to call it needle punch. What the heck is that called again? Needle felting. Monday we could do the needle felting and cut, which would be cool. Actually, we'd probably still have time to sew on the gross grain ribbon, too. I don't think it's going to fall apart in the amount of time it takes us to sew that ribbon on. So we could have this done. I was, reading through this, like steeking and all that, and the whole idea of picking up stitches, and it got me thinking about picking up stitches. I might actually consider picking up stitches on the cuff and stitching like maybe another inch on, maybe even in the red, just because it's a little short in the arms. So fit-wise, I mean, obviously it's just a style thing. I mean, it fits sort of okay. Technically it fits, but it's a little tight in the armpits. I mean, I'm not going to change that. And actually, I was wearing it with when I tried it on, I did have a sweater on underneath, so maybe it's not actually too big in the armpits, but it's actually a little tight in the waist, and it's just long. It's a weird length on me right now, I think. So it just wasn't quite right. But I think turning it into a cardigan, I'm okay with it being longer, and I can just throw it on over stuff, and it's just going to be perfect. So I'm happy. I'm giving it some wearable life yet. Al Martinez, I am prepping this sweater. This is my mom's old sweater that she had in high school. An ex-boyfriend's mom made it for her. I am prepping it to be cut down the center so I can turn it into a cardigan and wear it, because it doesn't fit very well. So I am doing all the prep work for that, and I'm, doing it with this pretty red thread. I think this red yarn is going to be just like a fun little detail. And I do kind of want to like embroider a little heart on it somewhere. One thing I do want to do for sure, I mentioned this in my TikTok, but I want to, that text that Mom sent me last night during our live, telling the history of the sweater. I want to print. This is one of my things that I need to get from Joann's. I want to get that like fabric paper that you can print on, and it's like printing on fabric basically. Oh, I could probably do that here too somehow. I don't know. But I want to print her text message that she sent out on fabric and then stitch it to the inside, like on the inside right here. Because that has the story of it. So it's like going to be part of the tag, will be like her text, the story of this sweater. So I think that would be just like really fun. Have that just right with the sweater. So that's another thing I need to grab from Joann's when I'm there tomorrow. The third thing I need to get is I'm looking for that crochet thread, like really delicate, small crochet thread, so I can start repairing my great-grandmother's that tablecloth that's crocheted really, really very delicately. But I need to find some matching thread before I can really get started in that. So that's going to be there. Oh, Nolene says, great idea. In 50 years' time, someone will get a good laugh. Exactly. First they'll be like, why is it in that weird bubble? Text message bubble. But yeah. Oh, Amy says you can iron freezer paper to the wrong side. Oh, and print on fabric. So that's the one thing that I have in my brain right now, is that this printing on paper, or this printing on fabric thing, is like an inkjet printer thing, and I don't have an inkjet printer that's functioning right now. Oh, is it grosgrain, not gross grain? Oh, interesting. That could totally be Gina. I have no idea. So, I don't know, is there any like weird paper thing I can do with a laser printer? I might have to actually Google that too. Or maybe there is some sort of specialty thing for that. Not paper, fabric. It's called grosgrain. Dang, I did not know that. Grosgrain ribbon. Gosh, that sounds funny to me. All right, we're getting there to the top of this. We got like 6 inches left here. Is that the tailor's cardigan? Oh, I have no idea. So this cardigan is, all I know about it, we learned last night. Mom texted me. This is a sweater. I thought my mom had knit this from some pattern like 20 or so years ago, but Mom said, no, it's actually 50 years old. It is her boyfriend from high school. His mom knit it. So that's all I know. I don't know the style or the pattern or anything like that. But it is like a fisherman style sweater with all the like 100% wool and all the really pretty cabling and stuff. I would actually love one of those sweaters, like a fisherman style, like one of those like Icelandic sweaters, but like that fits me. That's the problem with this. It doesn't fit very well, so I have acquired it. I have gotten permission from my mom to do whatever with it, which I was nervous about. We talked about it a little bit more last night after the Facebook Live, or the live stream here, and she said it's totally okay, and I think it's better than it sitting in a drawer somewhere. So I'm turning it into a cardigan so it can be worn and honor it, and I do really like the idea of having her text message of the story just like stitched to the inside. I think that's just fun. Amy says maybe a laser printer would work too for the printing on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, maybe there's something that pops up at Joann's that allows me to do it on an ink or a laser. We'll see. Otherwise, I'll just wait till I'm visiting my mom. I think she has a She is a laser print or an inkjet printer, so I'll just get all the supplies and print it there and then stitch it on there. That might just be what I end up doing. So it'll just be all prepped and then like a file ready, and I'll print it there. All right, so almost to the top here, and I don't know if we'll get all that far coming back down the other way, but we'll get there. So I do think Piperna is like, you decided to cut the table. I did. So I decided to cut in the cable instead of going off to the side in this nice area that would make it more sense and easier to cut. But there was a suggestion on TikTok that helped me make that decision, and that's that I could needle felt down the cable to like really hold all those fibers in place before I cut. And I'm like, oh dang, that's a great idea. I'm not worried about the idea of sacrificing the design of the cable. I'd rather have the opening in the middle, the opening in the center of the sweater. And I have that same cable here, and I have the same cable here, and you still will kind of be able to see it. So I don't really feel like, oh my god, I'm losing this cable. I don't feel that way. So I'm not worried from, you know, a losing all that work sort of position. Which I think was part of the problem. The other part is that it's a cable, and that's gonna just like fall apart in a weird way compared to like a real steek where you would make like the perfect little stitches going up before doing it. That's why I'm like, am I really steeking here? I think I just am cutting apart a sweater. Technically, we are steeking by the act of like we're cutting up a knit piece, but I'm not really making a steek in the normal sense. Like I'm not, like I haven't pre-planned this with perfect little stitches here, that I'm doing like perfect stitching on the side, and I'm not going to pick up the edges and make the placket or whatever. I'm not going to make the button area. I'm just going to actually probably leave it as is with these two little stripes. I am going to reinforce the back with, I guess some grosgrain ribbon. I feel like it's so funny in my head saying grosgrain instead of gross grain, but I'm sure I'm wrong. Anyway, so I'm going to support these stitches and just the edge with that ribbon. So that's what I need to get from Joann's tomorrow. And then, yeah, just stitch in that, print out that text that my mom wrote last night talking about the history, and I'm going to stitch that in to the inside back here for a little story. Some people mentioned, so I was so happy that people on, I posed this question on TikTok, like, should I cut into this or just take these stitches out and let it be as is? But then I wouldn't be able to wear it early, and everyone seemed okay with the idea of, you know what, it's fine to cut in it. It's better to honor it by wearing it than, not being able to wear it. And really I could, but I wouldn't. It's just doesn't fit quite right. But as a cardigan, I think I will. So a few people mentioned like, oh, I could frog the whole thing, which means basically unstitch it. So like pull it all apart, and then I'd have all that yarn to stitch, which would be kind of cool, but I don't know, then I wouldn't have any of it. I wouldn't have, like, it'd lose all that cable. And actually, I'm not sure I'd actually be able to do that, because I think this is kind of, it's not completely felted, but there are some areas that I'm thinking would be real difficult to pull out, because this is it's an older, used sweater, wool sweater, like original, like real, like pre-superwash merino whatever sweater. This is like actual just wool. So it wants to felt. It wants to hold together. So that's good for us as far as this whole steeking situation. So someone mentioned that too. Linda says, when you block a sweater, can you make it bigger? That was a suggestion too. Like I could maybe just get this wet and then block it bigger, which just basically means get it wet and then like pin it down like stretch it and pin it down to the size that I want, and then let it dry. That's kind of what blocking is. I didn't think I'd be able to do that big enough. Like I'm thinking with this particular sweater, I wouldn't actually be able to do that. So I'm like, I like that idea. I hadn't thought about that idea. It makes sense, but I think with this piece that I don't think I would have gotten much give for that. So we're sticking with stitching these two little lines, and then we're gonna add the idea of needle felting down the center and then cutting. And then probably at that point sewing on the ribbon, which will also help support it more by putting like machine stitches on either side. And then we'll call it done. And if I want to get extra fancy, I'll like stitch a little like embroidered something on it, but I probably won't do that. But if I do, I might, we'll see how it fits, but I might actually I might pick up the stitches around the cuff and add like an inch or so of extra cuff, because I think it's kind of short. I don't know, I'll have to look at the video of it again. But the TikTok video does have me wearing it. It does look actually kind of big, but in the video, but it's not. It's actually pretty tight in the video. Charlotte says blocking I thought you said it would be nearly. So blocking would not be nearly as much fun as to watch and chat about versus this steeking situation. It would have been interesting to just like handle all the blocking, like a big piece like this. I'm just like imagining smelling the wet wool. All right, we got one row done here. Let's tuck in this end. I'm going to just weave in that end here. This will theoretically be covered up by that ribbon that I'm going to hopefully get tomorrow. I suppose whether we work on this or not on Monday, or at least whether we finish it or not with the ribbon and the machine sewing, will depend on how my trip to Joann's goes tomorrow. So we'll see how the grosgrain ribbon adventure goes. Otherwise I might have to order some, and then we'll be putting this off probably till like the last week of the month. So next week is another free week of just like working on finishing all these projects, which is feeling so good. This is like the fourth project just in week one that we're kind of working on and finishing, which feels amazing. I'm just trying to like cleanse the palette of these projects before digging into our big project for the year, and that's going to be the alphabet. We're going to stitch through the ABC alphabet. So I happen to bring those up today. That's all of these patterns. We are going to be embroidering through all of, that nude one's cute, through all of these patterns, and I'll be stitching into a quilt that we'll be auctioning off as well. So all sorts of fun little animals. We've had these patterns for ages, and we just never did a stitch along, which just seems silly. So finally, 2022, we are doing the stitch along for that. And that's going to start, it's actually going to start January 31st. So that's basically the first week of February, but the Monday is January 31st. So that's when we're going to start that project. There'll be lots more info coming out on that in the next couple weeks. We're still planning it. But that is like the big project for the year. So we'll be doing that the first full week and the second full week of each month. So we'll be doing 2 alphabet letters a month. So we should be done February in 2023. Can you even think that far ahead? That's crazy. And we'll be doing quilt as we go too. So hopefully it'll be pretty close to being done in that February time too. And then the third full week of the month, we are going to be working on our embroidery of the month, and that starts this month already, and we'll be stitching the penguin, the two little penguins here, will be working on that when we are in the third week of the month. And then the fourth week is going to be our general free week. So like what we're doing all month, this month is what we'll be doing. What we'll be doing in the fourth full week of the month, every month for the year. So we might be finishing up projects, or we might be doing like some small projects, or if we get interested in a whole other idea like tatting. That's how I started to do all this tatting, was we were just kind of talking about it, and I'm like, I think I have some supplies for that, and we got that out. And now I've been just like tatting like crazy here too. I'm gonna start this. We're not gonna get very far tonight, but I figured we'd just start it. I have one more stitch to go here. So that is the plan for the year. So this is kind of our free little month before we get all that done. And I'm just like, I've been getting projects done. So like we fixed this this week. This was all like bent up and crazy because I had stitched the zipper wrong, and we fixed that, and dang, it looks totally different and fresh. It's awesome. We finished up my little tatting bag. We actually stitched that other letter T that we tatted onto my jean jacket, so that project got done. I have the other project that I'd love to get done during this time is I have some jeans I need to hem, and dang, it would be nice to get that done too. I don't know. That might be weird. I'm going to have to measure them and stuff beforehand because I'm going to have to like stand up on a stool or something. But that is a project I would just love to get done. I only have like one pair of jeans, so getting those hemmed would mean I'd have two pairs of jeans, which would be just very nice. So I'm hoping maybe that project. But now we've kind of expanded this, and I'm over the moon happy that we're getting this done. This, like I said, has been just hanging out here for years and years and years. And before that, it was hanging out at my parents' house for years and years and years, just sitting somewhere. And now it's going to actually be turned into a piece that gets worn every day. I am really, really excited about this project. Some other projects we have are, we need to finish some backs of, we have a lot of quilts that we need to quilt, but some of them need to have backs first, so we need to finish sewing the backs. And then I'm going to have like a big quilt bonanza of quilting time. Sometime I'll go to my parents' house and use my mom's machine. And larger floor space, to work on some quilting. Since I don't really have the space for that, and I want to just like kind of binge quilt a whole lot all at once. We are racking up the quilts that need to be quilted, and it's gonna start eking me out soon here. All right, so we'll stitch this up for another 5 minutes or so, and then call it a night, and I'll be back here on Monday. So I just do these streams Monday through Friday, so I'll be back Monday. But hopefully now you can kind of see, what I'm trying to do here. So we will needle felt in this middle column here, and then that's where we're going to cut. So right in the middle of these two columns, that's where our cut line will go. So it'll have these two cute little rows on either side. I'm hoping I don't have to cover them up with any knitting or any finishing edge. I'm hoping I can just leave it just like this, and the needle felting will have held it together. So I will have to find those tools. They're in my basement in a bin in a pile of crafting stuff somewhere. But I think I have a hunch of where they are. So I'll bring that up on Monday. So we'll do some needle felting and hopefully the actual cutting of the sweater on Monday. We do have to get this done first, so we'll we'll have to finish this line of stitches too. We'll get it. I think in this next 4 minutes we'll actually get a lot done on this. And I will still be machine sewing this as well to add that ribbon. Marcia says, I'm anxious to see the needle felting. I think the concept is solid, so I'm excited about that. So that was a recommendation or a suggestion from someone on TikTok, and then it just sort of clicked like, oh yeah, that's totally gonna work. And I have all those supplies, so I'm excited about that part, like really, really excited. And I think it'll be enough to finish. I think that'll be enough to hold the edges together, honestly. I don't think I'll need to cover it up or add like the extra button knitting or anything like that, like what's typical. I think I can just let it be. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, this is pretty big yarn, so I'm going to need like I have a really good, nice, sharp scissors that's going to work great for cutting it, especially after it's felted, so I'm not too worried about that. That was a concern as well. Oh, really? Oh, that dude crochets. That's so interesting. I used to watch you driving my semi on Facebook. Ah! Well, I'm still on Facebook. I'm alive there right now. I'm glad you found me again. That's so cool. Still at it. Still doing other stuff. So Zoe's saying, is there any other things I can do as far as with this sweater to keep the edge, or like as far as do I do other things here live, because I am always wanting to learn new stuff with crafting and try new things and all that. We do a lot of embroidery, so my business is embroidery kits and embroidery supplies and stuff. So we have an embroidery of the month that we stitch up every month, and then we have some other embroideries here and there. Our first embroidery of the month was the swan that we stitched onto this bag. That's the one that we finished this week, a zillion years after, a couple of years after the actual embroidery of the month was done, but that project finished. But we do a lot of quilting here, some sewing. We knitted a washcloth here once. I should do some more knitting and crochet here too. Oh, lately we've done a bunch of tatting, so I just learned how to tat. So I've been loving that. So I'm up for trying whatever, and I'm definitely taking suggestions. One thing that's hovering on my brain that I'm kind of wanting to try is bobbin lace. So if you guys know what that is, that's where you're actually making actual physical lace. You can even make like pictures and stuff, but that's where you see like all the zillions of bobbins, and people just like are moving those bobbins all over the place, and then all of a sudden they have like this whole thing of lace. That sounds fascinating, and I would love to figure out that mystery. That'd be fun. Yes, okay, I'd love to do an embroidered journal cover for the start of the new year. So that is like the perfect type of project for like our week 4 getting stuff done week that we'll be having every month. And I do have a pattern from that for my book, so I just need to like remake that into a pattern out of the book. But that would be fun. That one actually has a zipper built right in, so you can put like pencils in the back. So I'll resurrect that again. I would love to do that, and we could just stitch whatever we want and then make it into that cover. In the book I have like a felt cat on it, but we could do whatever we wanted. Marcia says bobbin lace would be fascinating. Yes, please do that. I know nothing on how to do that. Are you turning this into a cardigan? Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing, Zoe. So I am sort of doing the process of steeking, where you sew on either side before you cut it, but this was not planned to be steeked at the beginning, so this is actually going to be a cable that I cut through, which is not ideal, but I am going to needle felt it in place so it all kind of holds together. But yep, the idea is that this becomes a cardigan because it does not fit well as a sweater. So I'm just doing the couple stitches along the side, and then next week on Monday we'll do that needle felting down the middle, and I think we'll probably cut it at that point, unless there's a reason to not do that first. But yeah, so needle felting, cut, and then we'll add in the ribbon to the inside edge just so it has more support. So all that, well, and I guess we have to finish stitching this. So it'll probably be Monday, Tuesday is when we'll probably be done with this. And I'm probably not going to pick up stitches to do the cuff or anything right away because I think I'm probably just going to want to be done with it. We'll test it out. If I still feel like I need to, like I'll start, by test it out, I mean I'll start wearing it in the basement where it's chilly and where I'm at for a big part of the day. If it just feels too short, then we'll come back and we'll add an extra length to the cuff. That would be an opportunity to knit again. I feel like I haven't knit in forever, you guys. That just, even saying that out loud, like, knitting just makes, like, I have that feeling of calm just, like, comes over me a little bit. Yeah, I need to do another knitting project, I think. But see, the idea of another project, like makes it go away. It makes that, like, calming knit feel go away. I think I'm getting a better feeling from finishing all these projects. But soon, oh man, I'm gonna have to just, like, start, like, a really pretty knit blanket, something that's gonna take me a long time that I can just do here and there. Like, a big knit project like that would be fun, but man, I haven't knit in a while and I'm feeling it. That's like my calm. Crochet too, like knit and crochet are just, like, kind of chill. And now actually tatting feels a whole lot like that too. So it's nice to have those projects on hand. But it has been a nice feeling like finishing up all these projects too. All right, you guys, I think I'm gonna go halfway. I'm gonna go, like, to here, and then we'll stop for the day. I usually just do this to 9:30, and we're already past that, and I think it's gonna take us a while to finish stitching all this. So we'll easily finish stitching this on Monday, and I think we'll very quickly be able to needle felt it and cut it. So all that will happen Monday, and then we'll sew the ribbon, assuming I found what I need at Joann's. We'll do that on Tuesday. Ugh, this is kind of calming though too, just stitching these little lines in here. Ooh, Sylvia says, I'd like to knit mitered squares together into a blanket. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I'll have to, my mom has some cute blanket patterns, knit blanket patterns. I should look at those again. But yeah, Catherine says bobbin lace sounds interesting. Yeah, I'd love to dig into that too a little bit. Maybe I'll do that over the next few weeks. We'll see. All right. Couple more stitches. I'll have to maybe post, if you guys don't know what bobbin laces, I'll have to find some photos and post them. I would love to learn how to do that. And I'm sure there's someone out there that teaches how to do it. All these cool old crafts that, you know, aren't really old. Well, they're old, but they never, like, went away. But they're all still just, it's always getting rejuvenated, you know? Like, they're always kind of coming back and staying alive. And I think, like, tatting and bobbin lace and all that is feeling that way too to me. All right, let's do 2 more stitches and then we'll call it a week. All right, one more and then I think we're good for a little. Ooh, you're gonna macrame beads to guards with your Mom this spring. Ugh, that's fun. So I haven't really done much macrame, and here I'm going to flip this around, you guys, now. I haven't done much macrame really at all, but my mom has done a lot, in like the 70s and stuff, and she actually bought a modern day macrame kit, and she hasn't done it yet. That would be a fun project. I'll have to remind her of that next time I'm home. That would be a fun one to do. All right, I'm going to just stick this needle right in here so I don't lose it, and let me just show you guys here. There we go, our couple of columns at the bottom, and we are almost to the top here. I'm still feeling confident about our idea for this with that needle felting down the middle. It's gonna have this pretty red border. I'm really hoping I can find that red grosgrain ribbon at Joann's tomorrow. They should have that, right? That seems like a common thing, I would think. I'm hoping that's the case. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much again for joining me this week. This has been great. Gotten so many projects done, and I am just so excited that we are finally like bringing, life back to this sweater, and I'm going to be using it all the time. So we'll be wearing it all next week, probably. All right, so have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. See you then. See ya. Bye.